On July 1st, 2018, Constable Rajiv Tomar was called to the Chundawat house in Burari at around 7:30 in the morning. The Chundawat family consisted of 11 members, and something terrible had happened within the home. There was a huge crowd gathering around the lane leading up to the house. The door was open. When Constable Rajiv entered, he saw 10 bodies hanging from the ceiling.
Obviously, some things went clearly very, very wrong.
Their hands were tied, mouths gagged, and eyes blindfolded. The police found the last member of the family had been strangled in the bedroom inside. What had happened to this family? How did an entire family end up dead? Bhopal Singh, the patriarch of the family, and his wife Narayani Devi built their life in Tohana, Haryana. But that was not their dream home. Bhopal Singh and his wife were well-to-do. Narayani was from Punjab, and her maternal family, the Bhatias, were a reputable family. When Bhopal started staying around her maternal home and family, he too came to be known as Bhatia, something the Bhopal's family, the Chundawats, did not necessarily like. Affectionately known as Daddy by those in his inner circle, Bhopal Singh was a man who earned respect from all who crossed his path. He was also the daddy of 3 sons and 2 daughters. He had enough farmland and cattle to live a financially secure life. Then a magnetic pull drew them towards a cityscape. Bhopal Singh, with a shrewd eye for opportunity, decided to sell a portion of their land to buy a plot in Santnagar, Burari, in the capital city of Delhi. With that began something entirely new. He built a 2-story house there. Bhopal, Narayani, and their youngest son and the only earning member of their family, Lalit, moved to their new home in 1989 or 1990. In just a few years, Bhopal Singh and Narayani Devi had garnered the affection of their neighbors. In 1993, their son, Bainesh, along with his wife, Savita, and their daughter, little Neetu, made the journey from Rajasthan to Delhi after Bhopal Singh asked them to relocate. In the mid-90s, Bhopal and Narayani's daughter, Pratbida Bhatia, relocated to Delhi with her husband, Harinder Bhatia. The couple had a daughter named Priyanka. However, fate had other plans. Harinder passed away, and the Chundawats embraced the responsibility of raising Priyanka and providing support to Pratibha. By 2018, Bhopal Singh had passed away, but the Chundawats had firmly rooted themselves in Burari. Lalit managed a plywood business, while Bainesh ran a grocery shop, both thriving on the ground floor of their residence. The household now consisted of 11 members. Narayani Devi, who was then at the age of 77, Pratibha, along with her daughter Priyanka, Bhavnesh, accompanied by his wife Savita, their son Dushyant, and 2 daughters Neetu and Manaka, and finally Lalit, residing with his wife Tina and their son Shivam. On the quiet morning of July 1st, 2018, around 7:15 a.m., a neighbor, Gurcharan Singh, accustomed to his early morning walks with Lalit Chundawat, noticed that he'd not shown up that morning. Nor had anyone from the family collected milk from their milkman. Adding to the unusual atmosphere, the Chundawat shops, which customarily opened between 5 and 5:30 a.m., remained locked. Concern prompted Gurcharan and other neighbors, Kuldeep Singh and Pritpal Kaur, to approach the Chundawat house. As they approached the entrance, he discovered that the door was ajar. What he could see right in front of his eyes looked like a scene from a horror movie. The lifeless bodies of 10 people were hanging from the ceiling. He immediately reached out to other neighbors to raise an alert. Arriving at the residence at 7:18 a.m., Head Constable Rajiv Tomar, the beat officer for Burari, navigated through the narrow lane, gently pushing aside the gathered crowd. He wasn't just a policeman at that time, but also the Chundawat's former neighbor. When he got to the door, he was about to look at the sight that would haunt his worst nightmares. 10 of the 11 members of the household, comprising 2 men, 6 women, and 2 teenagers, were discovered hanging from a mesh of metal in a circular formation within the hallway of their residence. Their faces were shrouded almost entirely, with ears plugged using cotton, mouths taped, and hands bound behind their backs. The cloth pieces concealing their faces were cut from a single bedsheet. There were 5 stools, suggesting that one stool was shared between 2 people. Some bodies exhibited additional restraints, with hands and feet securely tied. Pratibha was found suspended a short distance away from the others, while at least 3 individuals seemed to have their toes touching the ground. Head Constable Rajiv said, "In my career of 17 years so far, I've never seen a crime scene like this, and I hope I never have to." He said that the bodies hanging appeared to be like banyan trees. But what about the 11th member of the house? Narayani Devi, the matriarch of the household, met a different fate. She was discovered lifeless in another room, appearing to have been strangled. Her body seemed to have been intentionally arranged in a particular position after her demise. All members of the residence had succumbed to tragedy, leaving the family dog, Tommy, as the sole survivor. Discovered on the terrace, he was found in a weakened state with a high fever. Who tied him there remained unclear. The experts from the Forensic Science Laboratory in Delhi were notified. Both FSL and the police shared the common goal of understanding the motive behind the incident. The police conducted an exhaustive draft mapping exercise, examining the physical aspects of the crime scene. The absence of circumstantial evidence pointed to why these deaths happened, and the fact that there were no signs of burglary stood out starkly, especially considering that the women still wore all of their ornaments. With media reporters, neighbors, and curious passers-by, the crowd continued gathering to catch a glimpse. People outside the house seemed to have doubled and tripled in number by now. The police, confronted with a tableau of bodies with bound hands, categorized it as a murder case. The public nature of the incident, coupled with mounting pressure from hardline groups and accusations of cover-ups from grieving relatives, intensified the investigative scrutiny. During the investigation, the police examined the footage captured by a CCTV camera that was placed on one of the walls of the house. This camera faced the lane, providing a front view. The primary objective was to check if any outsider had gained entry to the house. However, the case took an unexpected turn after the testimonies of friends, relatives, and neighbors were gathered. They said that the entire Chundawat family had changed since Bhopal Singh died in February 2007 due to respiratory illness. Everyone was shocked and sad, but Lalit seemed to have completely transformed. He'd always been quite a unique person. Youngsters called him Kaka or Uncle because he was funny, a bit reserved, responsible, and authoritative all at the same time. His best friend, Chandra Prakash Mehta from Tohana, had known Lalit since 1989. Because of an unfortunate accident in the junior year of college and subsequent health setbacks during senior examinations, Lalit had to drop out. In 2002, he got married to Tina, a well-read and worldly woman. But there was one more incident awaiting. In 2004, his life changed. He was set on fire under plywood sheets, and even though the family knew who did it, they resolved it through a compromise. This incident left Lalit without a voice. But that wasn't all. In 2007, things took a turn once again. The entire family was deeply saddened when their beloved daddy, Bhopal Singh, died. To find solace, they brought in a priest for a special prayer called Gurada Purana Path, which lasted for 10 days. During one of these prayer sessions, while everyone was listening attentively, something extraordinary happened. Lalit began chanting the sound Om. To everyone's amazement, his voice had returned. The room, full of family members and friends, exclaimed, "Daddy has returned." In 2008, a neighbor named Naresh Yadav, who often visited Lalit's shop, asked him about this incredible recovery. Lalit shared that Daddy had appeared in his dream, advising him to perform a specific ritual, and that's how his voice returned. Inspired by the spiritual connection, every evening around 9 o'clock, Lalit and Bainesh's kids invited neighbors for communal prayers by announcing, "It's time for Daddy to come." Together they'd gather, offering prayers for 15 to 30 minutes. That's when things started to go very wrong. By now, the police officials had carefully brought down the deceased family members to a mortuary. Each member of the family had a scarf wrapped around their neck, serving as the means by which they took their own lives. The post-mortem reports provided crucial insights, confirming that 8 of them lost their lives by hanging, while the rest experienced what was called partial hanging. No force was used on any of them. The police suspected that in the case of Narayani, she may have tied her neck to a doorknob before falling off a bed. There was a belt around her neck, which resulted in a few marks on the side of her neck. The examination of the large intestine and all the deceased members revealed the presence of fecal matter, indicating that none of them were under any significant stress before their demise. As the investigation continued, the case was handed over to Dr. Joy N. Turkey, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Crime Branch Delhi, and his team. With that, new details came to light. It appeared that some of the family members showed signs of struggle. The older son of Narayani, Bhavnesh, had desperately attempted to free his tied hands, evident from visible signs of struggle in his fingers. He died due to partial hanging and was found with his feet almost touching the ground, which caused the noose to tighten up around his neck. The children in the house were not just bound by their hands, but also their feet. The bindings were done with telephone wires. The details unfold a disturbing scene of struggle and restraint in the house. With passing time, the case was only getting even more complicated. The police had already suspected that these 11 deaths were the result of some kind of a ritual that had been going on in the family for some time. In fact, they found some evidence of a ritual performed the night before the tragedy was uncovered. The initial investigators had stumbled upon a leftover ritual pyre, surrounded by ashes indicating recent use. It became apparent that this ceremony had taken place just a day before the incident. But this theory took shape when another important piece of evidence came to light. The CCTV cameras showed that on June 28, 2018, Tina, Lalit's wife, and her son Shivam had purchased 4 stools. 2 days later, on June 30, 2018, at 9:40 p.m., Tina was seen with Neetu carrying newly acquired stools upstairs. Later that night, at 10:29 p.m., Laylat's son Shivam opened their plywood shop, carrying a small bundle of wires upstairs. At around 10:40 p.m., they'd ordered some food, including about 20 rotis. Amidst the ordinary scenes of daily life, the fridge held a packet of milk reserved for the following day's use, a small but significant detail that highlighted the future plans of the family. Lalit had also recharged the phones of his family members the day before. There was a bowl of soaked black gram, likely as preparation for the next day's supper. These seemingly mundane elements, frozen in time, offered glimpses into the ordinary lifestyle. But they became the basis for many theories. The family did not expect to die, so surely these deaths couldn't be a mass suicide. But with no external entry in force, there was no basis for a murder case either. So what happened? The answer came late, but the police had found it. During their search of the house, they discovered 11 diaries that had been maintained by Lalit for 11 years since the death of Bhopal Singh. In Lalit's diaries, the first time Bhopal Singh is mentioned is on September 7, 2007. The notes advised the family to remember him by placing his black and white photograph in front of them. The message urged the family members to pray to Daddy so that you get rid of your old habits. The crime branch analyzed the diaries, noting that the language used was a mix of instructions, commands, and almost a scolding tone. The last page of the diary contained a set of instructions that ultimately unfolded into a horrifying incident. On June 24, 2018, the final diary entry explained a ritual termed the Banyan Tree Ritual, slated to last for 7 days alongside a puja, a worship ritual known as Bad Puja. The bad is described as a tree with roots hanging from its branches. The ceremony was a Thanksgiving ritual dedicated to Bhopal Singh. The diary also mentioned the specific time of the incident, supposedly set for 1 a.m. The instructions were explicit. No visible signs of the puja should be apparent to any outsiders entering the house. The atmosphere during the puja should be enveloped in dim light, and participants were instructed to keep their eyes completely shut. To ensure utmost concentration, a blindfold should be securely tied, the mouth gagged with a handkerchief, and the mind emptied of distractions. Taking into consideration the age and physical condition of Narayani Devi, referred to in the diaries as bebe. The directive was for her to perform the ritual lying down. She was overweight and couldn't stand. The guidelines emphasized the importance of unity and determination throughout the puya, with the specific visualization of tree branches wrapping around an individual's body. The ritual was to be a collective effort, fostering repentance for any perceived mistakes. These detailed instructions unfolded a unique and intricate ritual, shrouded in secrecy and solemnity. The diaries, consistent with the details of the tragic discovery, mentioned the bodies being hanged in batches of 3, suggesting a ritualistic pattern. 8 mobile phones belonging to the family were discovered taped and hidden in a drawer. It seemed that the ritual demanded absolutely no distractions. The diaries chronicled every nuanced aspect of the family's daily life, unveiling not only their routine activities, but also indications of their engagement in witchcraft and occult practices. The writings hinted at an eerie influence, as if a third party or mystical energy was guiding and controlling the 11 members. This correlation between the diaries and the grim reality added another layer of mystery. Despite efforts by the crime branch to establish contact with individuals possessing religious or spiritual backgrounds connected to the family, their endeavors proved fruitless. However, in the most recent set of diaries, it was clearly highlighted that Lalit had become a savior of the family. Copies of the diaries discovered from the Chundawat's family's house were submitted to Dr. Virendra Singh of the Handwriting Division at the Forensic Science Lab in Delhi. His expertise was sought to identify and analyze the handwriting present in the entries. The analysis report indicated that Priyanka, the daughter of Pratibha, and Netu, the eldest daughter of Bhuvnesh, were the authors. However, it was believed that Lalit, guided by the spirit of his late father, served as the conduit for their dictation. This revelation raised suspicions, leading investigators to consider Lalit as the possible mastermind behind the incident. While the diaries contained statements suggesting a ritual where everyone would tie their own hands with the expectation of helping each other untie them afterwards, the crime branch believed that Lalit took on the sole responsibility of tying the hands and legs of the family members. It became apparent that the family, despite engaging in the ritual, might not have anticipated the fatal outcome. Lalit had made his family members believe that his father's soul had entered his body, compelling them to follow his lead. This manipulation and the alleged orchestration by Lalit raised several questions about the psychological and emotional dynamics within the family. But they were only assumptions and no confirmation as to what happened. Lalit was said to engage in direct communication with his deceased father through vivid dreams, during which the paternal figure provided guidance on how to manage the family. Lalit not only embraced these dream instructions, but also shared the insights with his family. Neetu, one of the children, took it upon herself to inform neighbors that her uncle Lalit was seemingly possessed by their grandfather's spirit, and it was this presence that directed their actions. During these family discussions about the instructions received from Daddy, an intriguing phenomenon would unfold. Lalit's voice would transform into an uncanny resemblance to his father's. The diaries explicitly outlined a schedule, indicating that the departed father's spirit would visit the family every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not just that, the instructions given during these interactions purportedly led to the financial prosperity of the family. This success reinforced the family's belief in the directives of the deceased father. The Chundawat family underwent a significant transformation in their lifestyle. They made a collective decision to abstain from both consuming and preparing non-vegetarian meals. Bhuvnesh chose to quit drinking within the confines of his home. The household witnessed a surge in religious observances, with prayers becoming a regular and integral part of their routine. Not only did their spiritual practices intensify, but their economic ventures also flourished. The family expanded their business endeavors from 1 store to 3. These included Lalit's plywood shop, Bhavnesh's grocery store, and a third establishment, jointly operated. Simultaneously, there was an expansion in the physical structure of their residence, with additional floors being added to the family house. This confluence of spiritual and material changes marked a notable shift in the Chundawat family's way of life. That was why the family engaged in the ritual that night. They believed that Daddy's spirit was expected to visit the family after the completion of the banyan tree ritual, and in doing so, save the family members. Yet, instead of being saved, they invited their own deaths. Clinical hypnotherapist Anita Anand offered insights into the dynamics of Indian families, stating that when the patriarch passes away, it often leaves a void. This situation was echoed in this case, where Bhopal Singh's demise created a noticeable vacuum. Until his death, Bhopal Singh held a pivotal role in the family, managing various aspects from planning to the children's education. After his passing, these responsibilities fell onto the shoulders of his youngest son, Lalit, because of his maturity and decision-making skills. But those close to the family consistently attested to the deceased Bhopal Singh's amiable and open-minded nature. They found it unlikely for him to express such commanding directives, raising questions about the transformation in family dynamics after his death. Noting Lalit's initial voice loss, vascular surgeon Dr. Ambrarish Satwik emphasized the rarity of a person losing their voice without an underlying cause, such as physical damage, trauma, or disease affecting the larynx. So, did it mean that Lalit chose not to speak for years on end without telling anyone? It's hard to say. Neighbors observed a notable shift in Lalit's behavior a few days before Priyanka's scheduled engagement on June 17, 2018. This change in demeanor was attributed to a potential alteration in his belief system, with a growing conviction that nobody should be leaving the house and going away. The impending engagement seemed to trigger a reaction in Lalit, prompting an unusual response. He reportedly slept continuously for a period of 2 days immediately following the engagement. This behavior raised eyebrows among neighbors who found it noteworthy and began to piece together the unfolding narrative. Clinical psychologist Dr. Roma Kumar highlighted that despite a doctor's recommendation for a psychiatric checkup, considering Lalit's condition after the accident, the family opted to overlook this advice. No one in the family had taken steps to provide treatment for Lalit's recovery from post-traumatic stress disorder. In psychological terms, Dr. Kumar explained that untreated trauma in an individual can lead to a certain level of psychosis, characterized by the mind's inability to function rationally. One direct consequence of psychosis is the experience of hearing voices. Following the completion of the ground investigation, the crime branch made a crucial decision to delve into the minds of the deceased through a psychological autopsy. This involved a group of scientists and psychologists meticulously unraveling the psychological aspects of the individuals involved to ascertain what had transpired. The emerging perspective suggested that Lalit, experiencing psychosis, was gradually transmitting this mental state to his family members. They proposed that Lalit had a delusional disorder. This intriguing phenomenon indicated a case of shared psychosis within the family. The shared beliefs and actions of the family members, particularly their blind trust in Lalit, were identified as potential outcomes of the shared psychological state. Interaction with neighbors and friends suggested the family looked forward to a tomorrow. A day earlier, Priyanka had invited a friend for her wedding in December and gave her clothes for laundry. The children watched football and planned a cricket match for the next day. The adults spoke to relatives over the phone and planned meetings. Footage released by police showed Savita and Neetu bringing stools and Dhruv and Shivam carrying cables to the house around 10 p.m. on June 30th. Police said these items were used in the ritual. Bhavnesh was seen taking his dog out for a walk around 11 p.m. A food delivery boy delivered 20 chapatis. No suspicious entry or exit was detected. The intricate details of the Chundawat family's residence revealed a striking pattern. 11 grills adorned the main entrance door, complemented by 11 rods in the railing of the terrace. The house itself featured precisely 11 windows and vents. This consistent alignment of the number 11 throughout the architectural elements of the home hinted at a deliberate and symbolic choice. The notion behind this meticulous arrangement was rooted in the belief that the number 11 held profound significance and relevance to the Burari incident. The repetition of this specific numeral in various aspects of the house suggested a conscious and intentional incorporation, inviting speculation about the family's spiritual or symbolic associations with the number and how it might have played a role in the tragic events that unfolded. Reporters observed the presence of 11 pipes on one of the bare walls of the Chundawat family's residence. Among these pipes, 7 were oriented facing downwards, while 4 faced straight. Once it was shown in the media, people started drawing their own conclusions. They drew a connection between the number of pipes and the composition of the Bhatia family, emphasizing the symbolism of the 7 females and 4 males who lost their lives. The configuration of the pipes mirrored the manner in which the family had tied themselves to the iron ceiling during the incident. People believed that the pipes were strategically placed to allow the souls of the 11 deceased individuals to escape. However, the person responsible for installing the pipes refuted such claims, staunchly mentioning that the pipes were installed for purposes of light and ventilation. Subsequent to these events, India's federal government took a significant step by releasing the country's first national mental health policy 5 years ago. This policy marked a crucial milestone in addressing mental health concerns at a national level, emphasizing the need for comprehensive strategies and initiatives to support mental health well-being across the population. The well-known Indian journalist Barkha Dutt offered insightful commentary, highlighting a critical aspect that may have contributed to the limited understanding of the case. The reporting of the Burari incident took on a crime drama narrative, potentially sensationalizing the events and overshadowing the nuanced complexities involved. The introduction of elements such as numerology and tantric dimensions further fueled this dramatic portrayal, capturing public attention by potentially distorting the true nature of the tragedy, which was mostly psychological. Dutt's analysis delved into a broader societal issue, asserting that the Burari incident serves as a reflection of the lack of interconnectedness in society. The only surviving member of the family, the dog Tommy, was later said to have been convalescing at Noida's house of stray animals, where he was taken immediately after being rescued. Despite several reports, the elder son of Bhopal and Narayani, Dinesh, still believed that this was a well-planned murder and not a suicide. His reasoning was that if this whole thing was done by Lalit and his wife, then their hands should not have been tied. Faith can provide strength, comfort, and a sense of purpose for individuals. It often plays a significant role in shaping beliefs and guiding actions. Using these very elements, any terrorist outfits mute the rationale of its members by first evoking faith and oneness against the world, and then attempt the unthinkable. But in an institution like family, faith, connection, and oneness naturally rest. In cases of an entire group deciding to die, there's usually an instigator, a member who expresses their wish explicitly to kill themselves. Either the instigator member would like others to join, or others join through their own free will. Even though the Chundawat family was not aiming to die, but to expand happiness and correct the wrong, there is an instigator member in these deaths too, Lalit. It could be said that deeper layers of Lalit's psychosis feared Priyanka's wedding because he was unable to let go of her and leave without the ultimate test of the family. But the rest of the family? Where did their rationale go? The grief of losing Daddy aided in convincing the family that Lalit saw him. The next stage of grief that comes after deniability was never sustained by the family, because there was an option to believe he was never gone. Once deviating from the norm and ensnared in a loop of coping mechanisms, it becomes uncertain when the divergence stops and how much is too much. By the time the investigation of the Burari deaths came to an end, there was evidence, proof, and autopsies piled up in one direction indicating unintentional self-killing, but yet there remains a lot of possibilities. In this case, there are many answers, but there are even more questions. Some of them linger and make investigators look back in horror and question if they really understood what they witnessed. Is there a connection between what happened inside the house, the 11 family members, and 11 pipes on the wall? Why was the main door of the house not locked from the inside? Did Lalit know they would not be rising back? Why were some of the members blindfolded and others not? Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you have any case suggestions you'd like us to cover, please mention them. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time,